Content warning. This case involves workplace violence and murder. Viewer discretion is advised. March 3rd, 2024, 11:47 p.m. A security camera in an upscale home office captures a woman entering through the back door. She's wearing dark clothing, gloves, hair pulled back. She moves quietly through the house. She's been here thousands of times before, worked here for 12 years, housekeeper, trusted employee, someone the family relied on completely. But tonight she's not here to clean. She walks to the home office, opens the desk drawer, removes a laptop, then a stack of documents, then a small safe hidden in the bottom drawer. She knows exactly where everything is, knows the alarm codes, knows the security camera blind spots, knows the family's schedule. She knows the wife is traveling, won't be home until tomorrow afternoon. She knows the husband sleeps heavily, takes medication that makes him groggy. She knows this is her opportunity. What she doesn't know is that the wife installed new cameras 3 weeks ago, hidden ones, because she'd been suspicious, because small things had been going missing, because something felt wrong. Those cameras captured everything, and when the wife reviewed the footage from her hotel room the next morning, what she saw made her call the police immediately. Because this wasn't just theft, this was attempted murder, and it had been planned for months. Maria Santos was 52 years old when she was arrested, born in the Philippines. Immigrated to the United States in 1997 at age 25, came with her husband Roberto and their infant daughter Lucia. The American dream, better opportunities, better life for their child. Roberto found work in construction. Maria took housekeeping jobs. They lived in a small apartment in San Jose, California. Worked hard, saved money, built a life. In 2012, Maria was hired by the Chen family, David and Helen Chen, both tech executives. Large home in Los Altos Hills, busy careers, 2 young children. They needed reliable household help. Maria started as a part-time housekeeper, 3 days a week, basic cleaning, laundry, meal preparation occasionally. She was excellent at her job, thorough, trustworthy. The Chen family appreciated her work ethic. Within 6 months, they offered her full-time employment, 5 days a week, benefits included, generous salary. Maria accepted. The stability was exactly what her family needed. Lucia was starting high school. College would be expensive. This job provided security. For 12 years, Maria was part of the Chen household. She watched their children grow up, celebrated holidays with them, became someone they trusted implicitly. Helen Chen traveled frequently for work, sometimes gone for weeks. She relied on Maria to maintain the household, to ensure everything ran smoothly, to be there when she couldn't be. That trust was absolute. Maria had keys to everything: alarm codes, safe combinations, access to financial documents for household expenses. The Chens never questioned it, never suspected anything. Maria had been loyal for over a decade. Why would that change? But it did change, gradually, in ways they didn't notice immediately. It started small. $20 missing from Helen's purse in late 2023. Helen assumed she'd miscounted, spent it and forgotten. Then a piece of jewelry disappeared, a bracelet. Not extremely valuable, but sentimental. Helen searched everywhere, finally assumed she'd lost it somehow. Then credit card charges appeared. Small amounts, coffee shops, gas stations. Charges Helen didn't recognize but assumed David had made. David assumed the same about Helen. Neither of them suspected Maria. She'd been with them for 12 years. She was family, practically family anyway. But Helen started feeling uneasy. Nothing concrete, just a sense that something was off. Things weren't quite where she'd left them. Small items missing, subtle changes in the house. In February 2024, Helen made a decision. She installed additional security cameras, hidden ones, in the home office, in the master bedroom, in the kitchen. She didn't tell David, didn't want him to think she was paranoid. She just wanted to see if her instincts were correct. She didn't tell Maria either. Just had the cameras installed while Maria was off for the weekend. The cameras were motion activated, recorded to cloud storage. Helen could access the footage from her phone. For 2 weeks, nothing unusual appeared. Maria cleaned, did laundry, prepared meals, everything normal. Then Helen traveled to Seattle for a business conference, March 2nd through March 4th, 3 days away from home. David was home but working long hours, often asleep by 10 p.m. due to medication he took for chronic pain. Heavy sleeper once the medication kicked in. Maria knew this. had observed this pattern for years. On March 3rd, Maria's shift ended at 6 p.m. as usual. She cleaned the kitchen after dinner, set out breakfast items for the next morning, said goodbye to David, who was already looking tired. She left the house at 6:15 p.m. David locked the door behind her, set the alarm, took his medication, was asleep by 9:30 p.m. The security cameras show the house quiet, dark except for a few ambient lights on timers. Then at 11:47 p.m. the back door opened. Maria entered. She used her key, deactivated the alarm with the code she'd used for 12 years. She was wearing dark clothing, black pants, black long-sleeve shirt, latex gloves, hair tied back in a tight bun. She moved through the house quietly, efficiently, someone who knew every floorboard, every creaking step, exactly how to move without making noise. She went directly to David's home office, the room where he kept work documents, financial records, his laptop. She opened the desk drawers, removed the laptop, disconnected it from the charger, set it aside. Then she opened the bottom drawer. There was a small fireproof safe. She knew the combination, had seen David open it dozens of times when she was cleaning the office. She entered the code. The safe opened. Inside were important documents, birth certificates, passports, property deeds, and cash. Approximately $15,000 that David kept for emergencies. Maria removed the cash, all of it, placed it in a backpack she'd brought with her. Then she did something unexpected, something that changed this from burglary to something far more sinister. She went to the kitchen, opened the cabinet where medications were stored, David's pain medication, prescription bottles, strong opioids. She removed 3 bottles, read the labels carefully, calculating. Then she opened the refrigerator, took out David's insulin. He was diabetic, type 2, required daily injections to manage his blood sugar. She removed the insulin from the refrigerator, replaced it with a vial she'd brought with her. Different medication, same size bottle, same label she'd carefully replicated, but not insulin. Something else. Something that would cause a diabetic patient's blood sugar to spike dangerously. Something that could cause a medical emergency. She placed the real insulin in her backpack, left the fake vial in the refrigerator. Then she went to the master bedroom. David was asleep, deep sleep from his pain medication, breathing heavily. Maria stood in the doorway for several minutes, watching him sleep. The camera captured her face, expression cold, calculating. She stepped closer to the bed, pulled out a syringe from her pocket, the same syringe she'd seen Helen use to inject David's insulin when he was too tired to do it himself. She filled the syringe from the fake vial she'd left in the refrigerator, approached David's sleeping form. The camera shows her reaching for his arm, preparing to inject. Then she stopped, changed her mind, put the syringe back in her pocket. Later testimony would reveal why. She wanted it to look natural, wanted David to inject himself with the fake insulin during his morning routine, wanted it to appear like a tragic medical accident, not murder. She left the bedroom, returned to the kitchen, made sure everything looked normal, then exited through the back door at 12:34 a.m. 47 minutes inside the house. 47 minutes of theft and attempted murder captured on hidden cameras she didn't know existed. Helen Chen was in her hotel room in Seattle when she checked the security camera feed the next morning, March 4th, 7:15 a.m. She routinely checked the cameras when traveling, liked to see that David was okay, that the house was secure. She opened the app on her phone, selected the office camera, saw footage from the previous night. At first, she thought she was seeing things, misunderstanding what she was watching. But as she rewound and watched again, the reality became clear. Maria, their trusted housekeeper of 12 years, breaking into their home in the middle of the night, stealing money, taking the laptop, tampering with medication. Helen felt sick, betrayed, terrified. She immediately called David. No answer. She called again. No answer. Panic set in. She called 911, explained she was out of town but had security footage showing a break-in, possible medical tampering. Her husband might be in danger. Dispatch sent officers immediately. They arrived at 7:42 a.m., knocked loudly, announced police presence. David answered. Groggy, confused, half-dressed. He'd just woken up, hadn't taken his morning insulin yet. The officers explained. His wife called. Security footage showed someone in the house overnight. He needed to not take any medication until it could be tested. David was stunned. Didn't understand. Who broke in? What did they take? The officers secured the scene, called for detectives, evidence technicians. This was more than a simple burglary. Helen arrived home by 2 p.m. She'd caught the first flight back. She showed detectives the security footage, all 47 minutes of it. They watched in silence, saw Maria enter, saw the theft, saw the medication tampering, saw her standing over David with a syringe. Detective Rachel Martinez was lead investigator. She'd been with San Jose Police Department for 16 years, seen a lot of domestic crimes, employee theft. But this was different. This was calculated, premeditated. This was attempted murder. She ordered the insulin vial tested immediately, sent to the lab for analysis. Results came back within hours. The vial contained not insulin, but a concentrated glucose solution. If injected into a diabetic patient, it would cause blood sugar to spike dangerously, could trigger diabetic ketoacidosis, could cause seizures, coma, death, and it would look like natural causes, like diabetes complications, like tragic but explainable medical emergency. Maria had planned this carefully, researched, understood exactly what would happen, counted on David's routine, counted on him injecting himself without checking the medication. If Helen hadn't installed those cameras, if she hadn't checked the footage, if David had taken his morning insulin as usual, he might be dead. Before we continue with what happened next, if cases like this matter to you, if you believe trust and loyalty mean something, make sure you're subscribed and hit that notification bell. Here on this channel, we expose betrayals. We show how investigations bring justice. We honor victims and near victims by telling their stories. Hit that like button if you think this case deserves attention. Drop a comment with your thoughts, because this isn't fiction. This is real, and what investigators found next proved this had been planned for much longer than anyone realized. Detective Martinez obtained a warrant for Maria Santos's home, executed March 4th at 4:17 p.m. Maria lived in a modest apartment in San Jose, 2 bedrooms. She shared it with her husband Roberto and their daughter Lucia, who was now in college but still lived at home. When officers arrived, Maria answered the door, appeared surprised, confused, asked what this was about. Detective Martinez explained, "We have evidence you entered the Chen residence last night without permission. We need to search your home." Maria's face went pale. She didn't resist, stepped aside, let them in. They found the laptop immediately, in Maria's bedroom, still in her backpack, along with the cash, $15,000 in $100 bills. They found David's real insulin in Maria's refrigerator, hidden behind other items. They found documentation, printed articles about insulin manipulation, about causing diabetic emergencies, about how to make it look like natural causes. They found her work schedule for the Chen household, notes about David's routines, when he took medication, when he was most vulnerable. And they found something else, a motive. Financial records showing Maria was deeply in debt. Credit cards maxed out, loans overdue, collection notices. She owed over $60,000. Her daughter's college tuition, medical bills from Roberto's recent surgery, living expenses that had spiraled out of control. She'd been stealing from the Chens for months. Small amounts at first, then larger. The $15,000 from the safe was supposed to solve her immediate crisis. But she'd also purchased life insurance on David Chen, a policy she'd taken out 6 months earlier. David had signed the paperwork without really reading it, thought it was household insurance, something Maria handled as part of her administrative duties. But it was a life insurance policy, with Maria listed as beneficiary, $500,000. If David died, if it looked like natural causes, Maria would collect, would solve all her financial problems. She'd planned this for months, researched how to kill him in a way that wouldn't be detected, waited for the right opportunity, struck when Helen was traveling and David was vulnerable. But she hadn't counted on the hidden cameras, hadn't known they existed, hadn't realized every moment was being recorded. Maria Santos was arrested on March 4th, 2024, charged with attempted murder, burglary, fraud, and theft. She initially denied everything, claimed the items in her home were planted, that she'd never entered the Chen house that night, that the security footage must be doctored. But the evidence was overwhelming. Her fingerprints on the safe, her DNA on the gloves found in her car, the laptop serial number matching David's, the insulin vial with her prints on it. And most damning, the security footage, Clear images of her face, her movements, her actions. No way to deny it was her. Her attorney tried to negotiate, claimed she was desperate, financially stressed, not thinking clearly, never actually intended to harm David. The prosecutor disagreed. This was premeditated murder, planned over months. She'd researched methods, created fake medication, purchased life insurance, waited for the perfect opportunity. The fact that she didn't succeed didn't make her less guilty, just less successful. The trial began on September 9, 2024, lasted 3 weeks. The prosecution presented a comprehensive case, timeline showing months of planning, financial records proving motive, security footage showing actions, expert testimony about the fake insulin and its deadly potential. They called David Chen to testify. He described his relationship with Maria, 12 years of trust, 12 years of treating her like family, never suspecting she could do something like this. He described the betrayal, the violation, the knowledge that someone he'd trusted completely had tried to kill him, had stood over him while he slept, had prepared to inject him with poison. Helen Chen testified, described her suspicions, the decision to install cameras, the horror of watching the footage, the realization that her instincts had been correct. She cried on the stand, described the guilt. If she hadn't installed those cameras, if she hadn't checked the footage, David might be dead, and she would have never known it was murder. The defense tried to create sympathy. Maria's attorney painted her as a desperate woman, facing impossible financial pressure, making terrible decisions out of panic. They called character witnesses, people who'd known Maria for years, described her as kind, hardworking, devoted to her family. But the evidence was undeniable, the planning too deliberate, the actions too calculated. On October 2, 2024, the jury returned their verdict after 6 hours of deliberation. Guilty of attempted murder in the first degree, guilty of burglary, guilty of fraud, guilty of theft. Maria showed no emotion as the verdicts were read, sat perfectly still, hands folded on the table. Her husband and daughter were in the gallery, both crying quietly. Sentencing came 2 weeks later. The judge's statement was direct, unsparing. Ms. Santos, you were trusted. For 12 years, the Chen family treated you with respect, paid you fairly, relied on you completely. They welcomed you into their home, into their lives. You betrayed that trust in the worst way possible. You didn't just steal from them. You attempted to murder David Chen. You researched methods. You planned carefully. You waited for the right moment. And you would have succeeded if not for hidden security cameras you didn't know existed. You stood over a sleeping man and prepared to kill him. Someone who'd trusted you, someone who'd treated you well. This wasn't desperation. This was calculated murder for financial gain. The court sentences you to 25 years to life in state prison. Maria was led away in handcuffs, her family sobbing in the gallery, her attorney already filing appeal paperwork. But the evidence was too strong. The appeals were denied. Maria Santos is currently incarcerated at Central California Women's Facility in Chowchilla. She'll be eligible for parole in 2049. She'll be 77 years old, if she lives that long. The case had significant impact beyond the courtroom. Helen Chen became an advocate for household security. She speaks publicly about trusting instincts, about the importance of security measures even in your own home with trusted employees. She's not advocating paranoia, but awareness, verification, reasonable precautions. The security camera footage has been used in training for law enforcement, showing how trust can be exploited, how workplace relationships can mask criminal intent. It's also been used by security companies, demonstrating the importance of hidden cameras, multiple angles, cloud storage that can't be tampered with. David Chen recovered physically. The fake insulin was never injected. He was never actually harmed beyond the psychological trauma. But that trauma is significant. He struggles with trust, has difficulty letting people into his home, requires extensive background checks for any household help. He and Helen installed comprehensive security systems, cameras everywhere, motion sensors, alarm systems with multiple layers. Some might say it's excessive. They say it's necessary. They trusted someone for 12 years. That person tried to kill him. Trust but verify, that's their new motto. Maria's family was devastated. Her husband, Roberto, had no knowledge of her plans. He was shocked, horrified, filed for divorce within weeks of her arrest. Their daughter, Lucia, dropped out of college. The tuition Maria had been trying to pay through theft and murder. Lucia couldn't face her classmates, couldn't handle the publicity. She works retail now, lives with her father, rarely speaks to her mother. The betrayal affected her too. Her mother wasn't who she thought she was. The case raises difficult questions about employment relationships, about how well we really know the people we trust, about the signs we miss when we don't want to see them. Helen's instincts told her something was wrong. She listened, she acted, she installed cameras. If she hadn't, if she dismissed her concerns as paranoia, David would likely be dead, and Maria would have collected $500,000 in life insurance. The perfect crime, except for those hidden cameras. Technology saved David Chen's life. Security footage that Maria didn't know existed. Cameras that captured every moment. Evidence that couldn't be denied or explained away. Maria Santos worked for the Chen family for 12 years. 12 years of building trust, 12 years of access, 12 years of appearing loyal and hardworking. But financial desperation changed everything. $60,000 in debt, college tuition, medical bills. The pressure mounted until theft seemed like the only option. Then theft escalated to murder. Because $15,000 would help, but $500,000 would solve everything. She planned carefully, researched thoroughly, waited for the perfect opportunity. But she made one critical mistake. She didn't know about the hidden cameras, didn't realize every action was being recorded, didn't understand that her perfect crime was being documented in real time. Those cameras caught everything. The theft, the medication tampering, the moment she stood over David with a syringe, the 47 minutes that proved premeditated, attempted murder. If this case shocked you, if you think trust and betrayal matter, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. Leave a comment below. What's your reaction? Have you ever had instincts about someone that turned out to be right? How do you balance trust with security? This channel exists to tell these stories. The betrayals, the investigations, the justice that follows. We don't sensationalize. We document. We show how evidence works, how crimes are solved. Hit that like button if you believe this case deserves attention. Share this video if you think people need to understand that danger can come from unexpected places. Maria Santos had every opportunity to make different choices, to ask for help, to explain her financial situation. The Chens were generous employers. They might have helped, might have offered a loan, might have worked out a payment plan. But she chose theft. Then she chose murder, because $500,000 was easier than honesty. Now she's in prison, 25 years minimum. Her family destroyed, her reputation ruined, her freedom gone. David Chen is alive because Helen trusted her instincts, because she installed cameras, because she checked the footage at the right time. Technology and intuition working together, saving a life, catching a killer, bringing justice. Remember this story. Remember that trust is precious, but verification is necessary. Remember that security measures aren't paranoia when they save lives. Stay safe, trust your instincts, and never forget that these aren't just stories. These are real people, real betrayals, real near tragedies that became justice because someone paid attention. Maria Santos, trusted employee of 12 years, attempted murderer, now serving 25 to life for betraying the family that trusted her completely. David and Helen Chen, employers who treated their housekeeper with respect and generosity, nearly lost everything because that respect was exploited. This is their story. This is justice. This is why we remember. Thank you for watching. Thank you for caring. Thank you for understanding that workplace relationships require both trust and appropriate boundaries. May this case serve as a reminder. Check your instincts. Verify what you can. Protect yourself and those you love. Because Maria Santos seemed trustworthy for 12 years, seemed loyal, seemed like family, until the hidden cameras revealed who she really was and what she was really capable of. Justice served, life saved, truth exposed. That's what matters. That's why we tell these stories. That's why this case deserves to be remembered.